Can I make money with a supercar investment? We know that's on some people's minds, but before you go ahead, ask yourself these important questions. How do I earn money from investing in supercars? How dangerous is it to invest in a supercar? What qualifies a supercar as a collectible? In which supercars should I invest? And how do I make money investing in supercars? In this video, we'll explain why supercars might be a good investment. Stay tuned until the end of the video because we'll also give you some pointers on the greatest supercars to buy in the future. One explanation for this is that manufacturers are aware that they will struggle to sell a large number of automobiles. Porsche recently did this with the 918 Spyder. They recognized that because of its $620,000 price tag, it would not be a big seller, so they restricted manufacturing to only 918. Manufacturers, on the other hand, may opt to restrict the number of special edition vehicles produced. Looking back at Porsche, they did precisely this with the 911R. When looking at the extensive 911 range at the time, the 911R was the sportiest option. Despite this, and despite knowing it would sell quite well, they only ever manufactured 991 units. By producing a restricted quantity of automobiles, the supply level is constrained. Certain limited edition models may see an increase in demand in the years after their release. This enables people who acquire a supercar at the list price to resell it for significantly greater price, benefiting from their investment. Make sure you make slots. When a vehicle is unveiled and pre-production sales begin, customers will be assigned a build slot. This is the sequence in which the automobiles are built. So if you bought build slot 250, your automobile will be the 250th to leave the assembly line. A construction slot is the first step in securing your investment. Of course, before you get too enthusiastic and buy a construction slot for the next flashy supercar to be unveiled, you need to know which supercar has the highest chance of appreciating and which don't. What causes the value of a supercar to rise? The fairly shady practice of getting a construction slot and then selling it at an inflated price before production begins is often frowned upon. Many manufacturers use a variety of measures to attempt to prevent this behavior. McLaren, for example, ensures that they have first refusal to acquire the vehicle back at list price if the customer changes their mind and does not want to continue with buying their automobile. Putting the sale of a build slot aside, purchasing a build slot, receiving possession of the automobile, and selling shortly after may result in a substantial yield. To see this in action, consider the latest Ferrari LaFerrari. It had a list price of $1 million and is currently selling for $2 million or higher. Are supercar investments safe or risky? Investing in a supercar or historic automobile, like other types of investments, has a few significant risks. Yes, if you do it right, you may get a very nice return on your supercar investment, but there are a few expenditures to consider before buying. Examples of cars that have lost and gained value. When the Dodge Viper was introduced, many investors acquired the aggressive 400 bhp American sports automobile with the expectation that it would quickly appreciate. Unfortunately, this was not the case. In the early 1990s, the list price in the United States was about $50,000. These early versions may now be purchased for less than $40,000. When you account for maintenance over the last 20 years as well as inflation, this results in a sizable loss. This one case demonstrates that not every impressive-looking supercar that enters the production is worth investing in. However, for every Dodge Viper, there is a Ferrari Enzo that has increased in value by more than 4 times, from a starting price of $400,000 to over $2 million now. What factors influence the value of supercars? There are many elements to consider while deciding which automobile you believe will increase in value. Only a few remain. In general, if an automobile has relatively small manufacturing run, such as a few hundred, this would be an excellent beginning point. With just a limited number of vehicles going into production, manufacturers will have lines around the block of prospective purchasers, all hoping to obtain a building slot. If any virtually new models appear for sale after the automobile has been made and delivered, individuals who missed out the first time will leap at the opportunity to finally get their limited edition model. As a result, the original owner may be able to sell their automobile for considerably more than the listed amount they paid. Cars like McLaren Senna and the future Aston Martin Valkyrie are already sold and haven't been constructed. The McLaren Senna is restricted to 500 units and costs $700,000. The Aston Martin Valkyrie, which was created in collaboration with the Red Bull Racing Formula 1 team, would be restricted to just 150 production vehicles. Both of these vehicles are projected to appreciate rapidly once production versions are accessible in the nascent market. Historical importance. When it comes to antique supercars to consider for purchase as an auto investment, historical significance might be a winning recipe. Consider the Jaguar E-Type, which was a pioneer in the 1960s. It brought a slew of technical advancements as well as a competitive price tag. Which supercars will appreciate? Here are our picks for future classics and supercars that will gain in value over the next several years. Many people who had put down deposits on the McLaren Senna were dissatisfied when it was initially shown. A handful of customers even called McLaren to attempt to cancel their purchases. However, after successive reveals, announcements, and previews, the McLaren Senna has received widespread acclaim. Those who have had the opportunity to test the vehicle in person appreciate its remarkable track performance and say it is more worthy of the Senna moniker. This has swayed the minds of early investors, with purchasers spending hundreds of thousands of dollars over the list to be on the list of 500 short buyers. The first Senna vehicles were delivered in June to July of 2019, and a handful of these special versions joined the market in 2019 and early 2020 at a price much higher than the original list price. If you are fortunate enough to have a couple $1 million to invest in, we strongly suggest the ever-appreciating Ferraris, such as the Enzo. It has come a long way from its original $400,000 debut price in 2002, and variants are now valued just short of $2 million. This is an increase above the previous year's value of $1.5 million. If you can afford such an investment, it may be prudent to buy an early model before it surpasses the $2 million mark. The Ferrari 599 GTO is our selection for the future. The GTO is the road-going version of the 599XX track concept vehicle, and only 599 were ever produced, with 125 exported over the Atlantic to the United States and the remainder remaining in Europe. Since its release in 2010, the 599 has depreciated significantly, with subsequent versions seeming to be more collectible. It has gradually declined from its $350,000 original price, and we expect it to continue to fall for another year or two. Following that, we anticipate its value will begin to rise due to its restricted manufacturing numbers and the V12 engine. A few supercars will use a naturally aspirated 6-liter V12 in the future, which will increase the value of the 599 GTO. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, and leave a comment saying I subscribed, and I'll personally reply to all of your comments. Thanks.